The bottle shattered against the marble countertop like a gunshot in the empty boardroom. Shards of glass exploding across the polished surface as Nathaniel's fist clenched around the neck of the scotch. "Fuck this merger," he growled, his voice raw and unraveling, the kind of sound that made my stomach twist because I'd never heard it crack before. Not from him, the unflappable king of Wall Street. I froze in the doorway, heart slamming against my ribs, because in that split second, I saw it, the man behind the suit, drowning. Rain hammered the windows of the 52nd floor conference room at Sterling and Hale, turning Manhattan into a smeared watercolor of neon and shadow. It was past midnight on a Friday that had started with champagne toasts and ended with this Nathaniel Hale, my boss of 3 years, 42 and built like he bench-pressed his demons every morning, reduced to a storm of his own making. The merger with that upstart tech firm from Silicon Valley had gone south faster than a bad trade, and now the scotch was flowing like it could wash away the red ink bleeding across his spreadsheets. I was Adam Ruiz, 28, the junior analyst who'd drawn the short straw for cleanup duty. Everyone else had bolted at 9, eager for whatever passed as a weekend in this grind. Me? I lingered because that's what you do when you're the new kid gunning for partner track. Clean up the messes, even the ones that smell like aged single malt and regret. But tonight felt different. Nathaniel's tie hung loose around his neck like a noose he'd forgotten to tighten. His dark hair, usually slicked back with that executive precision, falling in damp waves over his forehead. He was pacing now, phone in one hand, the bottle in the other, barking into the void. "They're screwing us, Paul. That clause on intellectual property. It's a goddamn Trojan horse." His voice echoed off the glass walls, sharp as the lightning cracking outside. I edged closer, pretending to stack the untouched charcuterie platters, but my eyes kept drifting to him. God, he was magnetic, even unraveling. Tall, broad-shouldered, with that jawline that could cut glass and eyes like smoked quartz, gray, piercing, the kind that made you feel seen and stripped bare all at once. I caught myself staring too many times in meetings, blaming it on admiration for his cutthroat smarts. But admiration didn't explain the heat low in my gut when he'd lean over my shoulder to review a pitch deck, his cologne, sandalwood and citrus, lingering like a promise. He slammed the phone down, missing the cradle, and it skittered across the table. That's when the bottle met the counter. The crash yanked me back, glass spraying like confetti from hell. A shard nicked my thumb as I lunged forward. Instinct, not thought, and blood welled up, mixing with the amber puddle spreading toward his loafers. "Shit, mister. Hale, are you?" I started, but he whirled on me, eyes wild, breath reeking of liquor and fury. "Adam, what the hell are you still doing here?" It wasn't accusatory. Exactly. More like he was seeing me for the first time, a lifeline in the wreckage. I swallowed, pressing my thumb to my shirt cuff. "Just finishing up. You okay? That was a hell of a swing." He laughed, a bitter bark that dissolved into a groan as he sank into the nearest chair, head dropping into his hands. The rain outside picked up, a relentless drumbeat underscoring the silence that stretched between us. I stood there, awkward as hell, the kid from Queens who'd clawed his way into this ivory tower on scholarships and sheer spite, now face to face with the man who held my career in his palm. Nathaniel Hale, divorced twice, no kids, the firm's golden boy who'd turned a sleepy investment house into a beast devouring startups for breakfast. Rumors swirled about him. Closeted, they whispered in the break room, or just too married to the job to bother with anyone. But I'd never bought the pity party. He was untouchable, A force. Until now. Pour me another, he muttered, nodding at the wreckage. If there's anything left. I hesitated, then knelt to salvage what I could, fishing the bottle from the debris. My hands shook, not from the glass, but from the proximity. His knee brushed mine as I rose, and electricity zipped up my spine. Maybe water instead? You've had a lot. His head snapped up, those gray eyes locking on mine with an intensity that pinned me. For a beat, the room shrank, the storm fading to white noise. You think you know better than me, Ruiz? No, sir. Just don't want you driving like this. Or crashing through another bottle. A ghost of a smile tugged at his lips, dry, self-deprecating. Fair point. Christ, what a night. He scrubbed a hand over his face, stubble rasping. Help me get out of here, cab? Maybe. My place is uptown. I nodded too quickly, grabbing my coat from the hook. Yeah. Of course. The elevator ride down was torture. Mirrored walls reflecting us side by side. Him towering over my 5'11" frame, shoulders slumped in defeat. He leaned against the rail, eyes half-lidded, and I fought the urge to steady him. When the doors opened to the lobby, the doorman flagged a cab through the downpour, and we tumbled in, soaked before we hit the sidewalk. Park Avenue, Nathaniel told the driver, then glanced at me. You don't have to babysit. Drop you at the subway. I shook my head, water dripping from my curls. I'm good. Queens can wait. He didn't argue, just stared out at the blurred streets, the city a vein of light pulsing through the night. The cab crawled uptown, horns blaring like impatient lovers, and he started talking, not the polished boardroom spiel, but real talk. About the merger unraveling his life's work. About the ex-wife who'd taken half his soul in the settlement. About the emptiness of closing deals that left him hollow. I listened, murmuring yes and I gets, my heart aching because this man, this titan, sounded so damn human. By the time we pulled up to his building, a sleek pre-war high-rise with a brass plaque that screamed old money, he was swaying, the booze hitting full force. I paid the driver, ignoring his protests, and looped an arm under Nathaniel's to haul him out. He was heavy, solid muscle against my side, his weight trusting in a way that made my pulse stutter. Easy, I said as we fumbled through the lobby, the concierge averting his eyes like he'd seen this reel before. The elevator to the penthouse was mercifully quick, but when the doors dinged open, Nathaniel stumbled, dragging us both toward the wall. Whoa! I caught him, palms flat on his chest, feeling the rapid thump of his heart under damp broadcloth. Our faces were inches apart, breath mingling, his scotch sweet, mine rain fresh. Time stretched, his eyes searching mine with a vulnerability that gutted me. Then he pulled away, fumbling for keys. His apartment was a revelation. Floor-to-ceiling windows framing the glittering skyline, minimalist furniture in leather and chrome, a grand piano gathering dust in the corner. No photos, no clutter, just echoes of a life too big for one man. He collapsed onto the couch, a sectional that could seat a board meeting, and groaned. Water. Kitchen. Please. I found the kitchen, marble island, sub-zero fridge stocked with craft beers and takeout containers, and filled a glass, adding aspirin from a cabinet that looked untouched. When I returned, he was shirtless, tie discarded, unbuttoning his cuffs with clumsy fingers. His skin glowed under the low lamps, tanned from Hampton's weekends, inked with a subtle tattoo snaking up his ribs. coordinates, maybe a lost love's latitude. Here, I said, handing him the glass, averting my eyes from the V of dark hair trailing south. He downed it in gulps, then set it aside, head lolling back. You're a saint, Adam. Or a fool. Why stick around? Because someone has to. I sat on the coffee table opposite, elbows on knees. And, I don't know. You're not just the boss. You're. He arched a brow, the motion lazy, inviting. What? Say it. The word hung unspoken, everything. Instead, I shrugged. The guy who sees potential in screw-ups like me. A low chuckle rumbled from him, warm and unguarded. Screw-ups. Yeah. Join the club. He patted the cushion beside him. Sit. Talk to me. Distract from the implosion. I did, sinking into the leather that still held his warmth. We talked about my abuela's tamales back in Queens, his boyhood summers in the Berkshires chasing fireflies with a father who taught him to fish but not to feel. The Scotch haze softened his edges. And mine too. Laughter crept in, tentative at first, then free. Hours blurred, the rain a lullaby, until his words slurred into silence, head tipping toward my shoulder. I should have left then. Called an Uber, crashed on my lumpy futon. But I didn't. I draped a throw over him, dimmed the lights, and curled up in an armchair, watching his chest rise and fall. In the quiet, with the city humming below, something shifted, a crack in the armor, a spark in the dark. And when his hand found mine in sleep, fingers lacing loose but sure, I didn't pull away. Morning light sliced through the blinds like Judgment Day, pulling me from a fitful doze. Nathaniel stirred, groaning as he sat up, blanket pooling around his waist. His eyes clearer now, but shadowed, found me across the room. Adam? Shit. Did I? You passed out mid-sentence about fly fishing, I said, forcing a grin to cut the tension. Nothing a black coffee can't fix. He rubbed his temples, then froze, memory flooding back. The hand-holding, the confessions, the way we'd leaned into each other like magnets. Color crept up his neck. Not embarrassment, exactly, but awareness. Last night. I owe you. Big time. Don't mention it. I stood, stretching kinks from my neck. I'll grab breakfast. Bagels? There's a spot on Lex. Stay. It was soft, almost a plea, hanging between us. He rose, gloriously rumpled in boxers and nothing else, crossing to the window. The view stole my breath, him, silhouetted against the dawn, vulnerability etched in the lines of his back. For the day. No work talk. Just this. The word unspoken again, but louder now. I nodded, throat tight. Yeah. Just this. We spent the day like thieves stealing time. Coffee on his balcony overlooking the park. Shirt sleeves rolled against unseasonable warmth. Stories unfolding like forgotten maps. He showed me the piano, fingers coaxing a halting melody from keys he hadn't touched since law school. I confessed my failed art degree, sketches hidden in desk drawers at the office. Laughter came easier, touches lingered, a brush of knuckles over toast, a hand on my knee during a bad joke. By afternoon, sprawled on the rug with takeout lo mein and a bootleg jazz playlist. The air hummed with possibility. You're different. You know that? He said. Chopsticks paused midair. Eyes on me like I was the only deal worth closing. In a room full of sharks. You're the one who remembers to feed the goldfish. I laughed, but it caught, turning serious. And you're not as invincible as you pretend. His gaze dropped, then lifted. Maybe I don't want to be. Not with you. The kiss happened then, slow, inevitable, like the rain we'd outrun. His lips on mine, tasting of soy and second chances, hands framing my face with a gentleness that belied his size. I melted into it, fingers threading his hair, the world narrowing to the press of bodies, the sigh he breathed into my mouth. It was fire and homecoming, years of stolen glances igniting in one endless moment. We tumbled to the couch, clothes shedding like old skins, exploring with the reverence of survivors. His body over mine strong, scarred from life's rough drafts, moved with a hunger tempered by care, whispers of my name like prayers. Afterward, tangled in sheets we dragged to the floor, he traced patterns on my chest, voice husky. It's new. For me, I propped on an elbow, studying him. Good new, terrifying new, a pause. Then, I've buried this part of me since college. Firms conservative as hell, clients, bored, the whole machine. But you make me want to dig it up. My heart swelled, fierce and fragile. Then let's unearth it. Together, he smiled, that rare, real one that crinkled his eyes, and pulled me close. In the golden haze of late sun, with the city sprawling indifferent below, we built something fragile and fierce, a bridge over the chasm of what came next. But bridges burn easy, and the world outside was waiting to strike the match. Weeks blurred into a secret rhythm, the kind that thrives in shadows and stolen hours. By day, we were Sterling and Hale's golden duo, Nathaniel in his corner office, commanding rooms with that velvet authority. Me at my desk crunching numbers, our eyes meeting across conference tables like coded messages. A nod here, a lingering glance there, innocent to outsiders, electric to us. Nights, though, belonged to the hidden city. Speakeasies in the village where jazz drowned out doubts, his penthouse balcony under starless skies, bodies mapping each other like undiscovered continents. I fell hard, the way you do when life's been stingy, a queen's kid with student loans and a chip on his shoulder, suddenly waking up to silk sheets and a man who saw me, really saw me. Nathaniel was a revelation. Mornings with espresso and the Times crossword, his competitive streak turning debates over clues into foreplay. Evenings dissecting indie films on his massive screen, his laugh rumbling deep when I quoted lines from old rom-coms. He opened up in layers, stories of a closeted adolescence in conservative Connecticut, the pressure of a family legacy that demanded perfection. Dad wanted a senator, he'd say, nursing a bourbon neat. Got a Wall Street wolf instead. Neither of us forgave the other. I'd share my own scars. The abuela who raised me after mom bailed, her rosary beads and rice and beans wisdom. The high school bullies who clocked my sketchbook doodles of boys as fairy shit, pushing me into finance's armor of suits and spreadsheets. You turned pain into power, he'd murmur, thumb tracing my collarbone. That's sexier than any merger. Sex with him was poetry in motion. Tender one night, urgent the next, always laced with that emotional undercurrent that left me breathless. We'd talk after, sprawled in the afterglow, futures unfurling like dreams. What if we went public? I'd whisper once, tracing the tattoo on his ribs, 48 degrees north, 123 degrees west, coordinates to a Seattle beach where he'd scattered his grandfather's ashes. Told the world, He'd tense, then soften, kissing my temple. Soon, Adam. This merger's my albatross. Once it's locked, we reassess. Promise. I believed him, because belief was easier than doubt. The firm buzzed with merger drama, deadlines piling like storm clouds, but we carved out oases. A weekend in the Catskills, hiking trails that wound through autumn blaze, his hand in mine on forgotten paths. There, under a canopy of crimson leaves, he dropped to one knee, not proposal, but play offering a wildflower ring. For the man who saved my ass, he said, voice thick. We made love in a cabin with a stone fireplace, the crackle of logs sinking with our breaths. And I thought, this is it. This is forever. Back in the city, reality nipped at our heels. Whispers in the halls, Nathaniel's ex, Victoria, circling like a shark scenting blood. She'd lawyered up post-divorce, but now rumors flew of reconciliation, fueled by her friendly lunches at Lou Bernardine. I dismissed it as tabloid fodder, but unease festered. Then came the holiday party, the firm's annual bacchanal at the plaza, crystal chandeliers dripping light like liquid gold. I spotted him across the ballroom, resplendent in a charcoal tux, charming a cluster of VCs with that effortless gravitas. Victoria was there, a vision in emerald silk, her laugh tinkling like wind chimes as she touched his arm. Jealousy coiled in my gut, irrational but sharp. I nursed a gin and tonic at the bar, chatting with colleagues, when his text buzzed, "Meet me upstairs. Room 512. Now, heart racing, I slipped away, the elevator a silver bullet to the private suites. The door clicked open to dim lamplight, Nathaniel waiting with a bottle of Veuve and 2 flutes. Escape artistry, he grinned, pulling me into a kiss that tasted of mischief and him. We toasted to us against the suits, clothes pooling on Persian rugs, the party a distant hum. He was insatiable that night, hands worshipping every inch, whispers of love against my skin. First time he'd said it, raw and unprompted. I love you, Adam. God, I do. Tears pricked my eyes as I echoed it back, bodies joining in a rhythm that felt sacred. Afterward, wrapped in robes, we plotted futures. A beach house in Fire Island, maybe, or Paris for spring. No more hiding, he vowed, fingers laced with mine. After New Year's, we tell them. HR. Bored hell. The Post if they want a scoop. Elation bubbled. Champagne sweet. We redescend to the party flushed and giddy, stealing glances like co-conspirators. But as midnight struck, confetti raining like New Year's snow, Victoria claimed him for a slow dance, propriety, she called it, her hand possessive on his shoulder. I watched from the sidelines, gin turning bitter, until a colleague, Mark from compliance, sidled up, slurring secrets. Heard Hales tying the knot again. Vic's got him cornered. Prenup's ironclad. But the optics? Merger needs stability, right? The words landed like a gut punch, air whooshing from my lungs. I laughed it off, blaming the booze, but doubt rooted deep. Later, in the cab home alone, since he'd networked late, I replayed the dance, her lips brushing his ear. Bullshit, I told myself. He's mine. January dawned brutal, snow blanketing the streets in indifferent white. The merger teetered, all-nighters blurring days into a caffeine-fueled haze. Nathaniel buried himself in war rooms, texts sparse. Miss you. Soon. I buried resentment in work, pitching ideas that earned nods but no alone time. Then, the betrayal slithered in, not with a bang, but a quiet email, forwarded by accident from his assistant. Subject: Hail Victoria Reconciliation Strategy. I stared at my screen, pulse thundering, as I clicked. It was from the firm's PR head to legal, confirming narrative, Nathaniel and Victoria's rekindled romance as stabilizing force for merger announcement. Photos from Plaza Party Key emphasize family values to counter tech bro chaos. Photos. The dance. Her hand on him. My hands shook as I forwarded it to myself, then deleted the trace. That night, at his place, our place, I confronted him over takeout Thai, voice steady as rebar. What's this about you and Victoria? Reconciliation. He froze, chopsticks midway to his mouth, then set them down with deliberate calm. Adam, it's optics. Mergers on life support, investors spook easy. A stable personal life sells security. Optics. The word cracked like ice underfoot. You danced with her. Let the world think. It's fake. He cut in, reaching for my hand. I yanked back. A few joint appearances, then it fades. For us. For us. Laughter bubbled. Hysterical. You said New Year's. No more hiding. I know. He stood, rounding the table, voice pleading. But this saves everything, the firm, jobs, our future. Once it's done, our future. I shoved up, chair scraping. Or your empire. I'm the dirty secret you trot out when the board's not looking. That's not. He grabbed my arm. I stormy. Adam, please. I love you. This is temporary. Temporary. The word eviscerated, flaying hope to bone. I wrenched free, storming to the door, coat in hand. Love doesn't hide. It stands. Adam. His call chased me into the hall, elevator doors sealing like a tomb. Snow swirled outside as I emerged, the city a frozen labyrinth. And I walked, blocks bleeding into miles until my feet numbed, matching the ache in my chest. Days turned to ghosts. I called in sick, holed up in my Astoria walk-up with bad TV and worse whiskey, replaying every touch, every lie. He texted, apologies. Please, we need to talk. But I ghosted, pride my only armor. Work dragged me back, corridors echoing with merger hype, his office door a Berlin Wall. We nodded in meetings, professional frost, but undercurrents raged. His eyes begging, mine accusing. Then came the gala, black tie merger kickoff at the Met, champagne flutes and power plays under gilded ceilings. I went for the firm, tux rented to fit the facade. But seeing him arm in arm with Victoria, her gown a cascade of diamonds, his smile a mask, shattered the last illusion. She clung like ivy, photographers flashing as they posed, the perfect power couple. I slipped out early, air thick in my throat, hailing a cab to nowhere. It dropped me at his building, stupid, masochistic muscle memory, and I buzzed up, unthinking. The doorman, pity in his eyes, let me pass. He answered shirtless, surprise morphing to relief. Adam, end it, I demanded, stepping inside, door slamming. Her. The charade. Or I'm done. His face crumpled, hands raking hair. I can't. Not yet. The vote's tomorrow. Then we're done. The words tasted like ash, but I meant them, turning for the door. Wait, he blocked me, desperation raw. I broke it off with her hours ago. PR doesn't know. It's over. Proof? None. Just his eyes, pleading mirrors of my pain. I searched them, found truth tangled in fear, and something cracked. Prove it, I whispered, and he did with a kiss that bruised, hands stripping barriers, bodies crashing like waves on rock. We forgave in frenzy, then tenderness, promises whispered into skin. No more games, he vowed, holding me as dawn crept in. You're my endgame, but trust, once fractured, leaves fissures. And in the high-stakes world of deals and deceit, one crack can bring the house down. Spring unfurled over the city like a hesitant truce, cherry blossoms dusting Central Park paths, the Hudson thawing into lazy ripples under warmer suns. The merger closed with fanfare, headlines in the journal, champagne pops in the boardroom, Nathaniel hailed as the wizard who'd spun straw to gold. Victoria vanished from the narrative, a footnote in press releases. Her amicable split leaked to page 6 with surgical precision. We celebrated privately. A weekend in the Hamptons, his beach house a weathered shingle sanctuary where waves crashed like applause. There, barefoot on dunes, salt wind whipping our shirts, he proposed not with a ring, but words. Marry me, Adam. Not tomorrow, not for show. For real when the world's ready, or screw it, right now in some Jersey chapel. His eyes, that impossible gray, held steady, no shadows. I said yes through tears and laughter, sealing it with sand between our toes and a love that felt invincible. Back in Manhattan, we tiptoed toward normalcy. Dinners at Hidden Gems in Chinatown, where steam from dumplings fogged windows and his knee pressed mine under formica tables. Mornings tangled in his sheets, my head on his chest, listening to the steady thrum that anchored me. At work, boundaries blurred, a brush of fingers over shared reports, coffee runs that stretched to flirtations. Colleagues noticed the thaw mark from compliance ribbing. Hale's got his mojo back. What's your secret, Ruiz? But we played coy, the thrill of almost electric. Yet under the bloom, roots of doubt lingered. Nightmares woke me, Victoria's laugh echoing, boardroom doors slamming on us. Nathaniel sensed it, countering with gestures, tickets to a Broadway revival of Angels in America, where we sat shoulder to shoulder, tears streaming as Pryor's defiance mirrored our own. This is us, he whispered in the dark, hand squeezing mine. Fierce. Unbroken. I wanted to believe, dove deeper into US, planning a trip to Seattle, tracing those tattoo coordinates to the beach where his grandfather's spirit lingered. We flew west in May, the plane a cocoon of whispers and stolen kisses under blankets. The coast hit like a bomb, craggy shores, evergreen hush, the inn a clabbered haven with sea views. Days blurred, hikes through misty forests, hands linked on root-tangled trails, nights with chowder and fire pits, his stories of boyhood summers weaving with mine of abuela's tales. On the third day, we drove to that beach, gravel crunching under tires, gulls wheeling overhead. The sand was coarse, Pacific roar a constant hymn. He knelt where the waves lapped, fingers sifting shells, voice soft. Here, where it all started, loss, but also freedom. I want that for us. I joined him, arms around his waist, chin on his shoulder. We have it. But as sunset bled crimson across the water, my phone buzzed, a work email, innocuous at first, merger follow-up from legal. Attached, a dossier on key personnel risks. My name topped the list, Flagged for personal entanglements with attached photos, grainy shots from the gala, but worse, from the Hamptons weekend. Us on the dune, embracing, time-stamped post-closure. Panic iced my veins. Nathaniel, look. He scanned it, face draining of color. What the? This is bullshit. Internal audit. Maybe paranoia from the tech side. Or leverage. The word hung. Ugly. If it leaks, it won't. He pulled me close. Fierce. I'll handle it. Shred the files. Heads will roll. We cut the trip short, flying back to a city that felt like a trap. He dove into damage control meetings behind closed doors, assurances of firewalls. I buried fear in routine, but sleep evaded, replaced by visions of headlines. Wall Street tightens secret affair tanks firm. June brought heat waves, asphalt shimmering, tempers fraying. The firm announced expansions, new offices in Austin, London hires, and Nathaniel shone, keynote speeches drawing applause. But at home, tension simmered, arguments over what-ifs, my insecurities flaring like summer storms. You're pulling away, I'd accuse after a late night. His tie askew from client drinks. I'm fighting for us, he'd snap, then soften, apologies and kisses that mended but didn't erase. One night, after a brutal row, me storming out to walk the humid streets, he found me on a bench by the reservoir, drenched in sweat and regret. I'm scared too, he admitted, sitting close, voice breaking. Of losing you to this machine I built. We made up under the stars, raw and real, vowing therapy, couples counseling in a discreet midtown office, where a soft-spoken doc unpacked our closets. Sessions peeled layers. His fear of abandonment from divorces past. My terror of being the phase. Progress felt tangible. Love deepening in the vulnerability. Then, the conflict crested like a rogue wave. Mid-July, a board retreat in the Adirondacks rustic lodge. Pine-scented air. Power plays masked as team building. I wasn't invited, junior staff sidelined, but Nathaniel insisted I tag as analyst support, a cover for stolen moments. Victoria crashed it, uninvited, her arrival a calculated bomb. Consulting on synergies, she purred, eyes on him like daggers. Tension crackled through hikes and seminars, her presence a poison ivy rash. At the closing bonfire, sparks spiraling into velvet night, she cornered me by the cooler, wine glass in hand, smile venomous. He's using you, darling. A rebound to soothe the merger bruises. When the novelty fades, save it, I hissed, heart hammering. He's chosen. Has he? She thrust her phone under my nose. Texts. Hissed to her, we need to talk. Discreetly. Dated last week. Optics or not. Nathaniel's don't change. Ask his exes. I recoiled, fleeing to our cabin, where he found me pacing, phone clutched like evidence. She showed me. Context. He snatched it, scrolling. It's about the dossier, warning her off digging. I swear, doubt warred with trust, his eyes pleading anchors. Prove it. Call her. Now, he did. Beaker on. Voice steel. Stay out, Vic. It's over, all of it. Her laugh tinkled. Icy. We'll see, Nate. Boards watching. The call ended. Silence thick. I searched his face, found sincerity laced with fear. I believe you, I whispered, pulling him down to the rug. Bodies a balm against betrayal's sting. But as we loved through the night, her words echoed, boards watching. August scorched, and the axe fell subtly, a performance review docking my metrics, whispers of distraction from seniors. Nathaniel fought it, memos flying, but the chill deepened. We clung tighter, rooftop picnics with skyline toasts, his hand in mine a defiant flag. "We're stronger," he'd say, kissing knuckles. "This is our story, yet stories twist, and ours veered toward shadow." One evening, post-therapy glow, I found a hidden drawer in his desk, unlocked in haste, yielding letters, old and yellowed. From college, fervent confessions to a lover named Eli, ended in heartbreak, too much risk. Tucked beneath, a recent note, his handwriting, "For Adam our beginning, not end." Tears blurred as I pocketed it, heart swelling. But on the flip, coordinates to our beach, scrawled with "Don't let fear win." Renewed, I planned a surprise, dinner at our first speakeasy. Ring in pocket, simple platinum, engraved unburied. But as I dressed, his key turned early, face ashen. "Board meeting. Emergency." "What?" He collapsed beside me, head in hands. "Leak. The photos, someone dumped them to a blogger. Anonymous, but timed for maximum damage." The world tilted. "The merger. Shaky. And us. They're calling it a liability. Want me to address personal matters publicly." With her, the question sliced. "No." Firm, then cracking. "But I have to step back. From you. Temporarily. To save the firm." Betrayal bloomed, hot and final. "Temporarily? Like before." "Adam." "No." I stood, ring burning in my fist. "You choose. Us or the machine." His silence was the answer, ice-tormented pools. I walked out, door clicking like a guillotine, streets swallowing me whole. The fallout cascaded. Headlines twisted truths. Hale's secret scandal rocked sterling. Stocks dipped. Colleagues averted eyes. I tendered resignation that week, packing boxes in my office under fluorescent buzz, heart a lead weight. Nathaniel's calls went unanswered, his final voicemail a gut wrench. I chose wrong. "Fight me on this, please." But pride armored me, propelling to a new gig at a Brooklyn startup scrappier, queer-friendly, a fresh canvas. Days filled with pitches and possibility, nights with gin and ghosts. He faded to echoes, a sighting at a gala, arm in arm with no one, eyes hollow. Then, October winds howled change. Package arrived, no sender, but his script on the label. Inside, the beach letters, plus one new, "I burned the bridges. Come home." Attached, board resignation letter, dated yesterday. "For you. For us." Tears fell as I dialed, voice breaking. "Nate, Adam." Relief flooded. I quit. The firm's some VP vulture. But I'm free, free. The word unlocked floods. "Where are you?" "Seattle. Our beach. Come. Let's start." I booked the red-eye, heart airborne. But freedom's price lingers, and as the plane banked west, doubt whispered, "Can bridges rebuild on ash?" The flight to Seattle was a gauntlet of turbulence, literal and otherwise, clouds boiling like the storm in my chest as the city lights of JFK receded. I'd left everything behind in a whirlwind. Sublet notice on my Astoria hole in the wall, a polite email to the Brooklyn startup, personal reasons, and a lifetime of armor stripped bare for one man's gamble. Nathaniel Hale, the man who'd built empires and buried hearts, had torched it all on a beach I hadn't seen but already loved like home. Was it enough? The ring still nestled in my pocket, a talisman against the what-ifs. Wheels touched down at Seattle-Tacoma under slate skies, rain sheeting the tarmac like tears unshed. I rented a compact, the GPS purring coordinates that felt sacred. 48 degrees north, 123 degrees west. The drive wound through evergreens heavy with mist, fairy horns moaning in the distance, the Olympics looming like ancient guardians. Doubt gnawed, had he really quit? Was this another pivot? A romantic gesture doomed to boardroom recall? But the letters burned in my bag. His words a beacon. I chose you. Every scar, every dawn. The beach road narrowed to gravel, tires crunching as salt air flooded the vents. There it was, a weathered cottage perched on dunes, chimney puffing wood smoke, waves a rhythmic roar below. His Jeep sat crooked in the drive, New York plates mud-splattered. Heart in throat, I killed the engine, steps carrying me to the porch where wind chimes tinkled like hesitant welcomes. The door creaked open before I knocked. Nathaniel, jeans and hoodie, stubble shadowing that jaw, eyes red-rimmed but alive with something fierce. You came. No words sufficed. I crashed into him, arms locking around his solid frame. His cologne mingled with pine and sea. He held me like wreckage, breath shuddering. I'm sorry, he murmured into my hair. For every second I made you wait. Inside, the cottage enveloped us. Stone hearth crackling, quilts on a sagging couch, windows framing the endless Pacific. We talked for hours, curled on the floor with clam chowder from a pot he'd simmered, burnt edges and all, unpacking the chasm. His resignation, a blistering email to the board, citing irreconcilable ethics, followed by a buyout that left him liquid but liberated. Victoria's revenge? She'd fanned the leak flames, angling for his throne, but the vultures turned on her too, firm fracturing in the scandal's wake. I saw it on the news, I said. Spoon paused. Hale steps down, personal reasons cited. He snorted, bittersweet. Personal. Yeah. You, guilt twisted. I quit too. Startup's toast for me. His hand covered mine, thumb stroking knuckles. Good. We rebuild. Here, if you want. Or anywhere. We made love that night to the storm's lullaby, slow, reverent, reclaiming stolen time. His body, familiar yet renewed, moved with a freedom unyoked from suits and secrets. Afterward, tangled in flannel, he traced my ring finger. Still got it. I fished the band from my jeans, sliding it on with trembling fingers. Always, he mirrored it his own, matching, engraved unburied, and we toasted with cheap Cabernet, laughter bubbling through tears. Dawn broke misty, gulls crying benedictions, and we walked the beach, barefoot, hands linked, shells crunching underfoot. He scattered more ashes, not literal, but metaphors of old fears into the surf. No more hiding, he vowed, waves licking our ankles. Proud. Public. Us. But reinvention's not linear. Fisher's spiderwebbed. November brought leaks. Tabloids digging his coastal retreat with a mystery man, speculation swirling, midlife crisis, revenge fuck. We ignored it. Nesting. I sketched coastal maps on butcher paper, dreaming of a consultancy, ethical investments, queer-led startups. He fished, badly, laughing at hooked boots, cooked paella from Abuela's recipe, botching the saffron but nailing the love. Yet isolation crept. No family for him, estranged. Mine worlds away in Queens. Holiday cards arrived like indictments, firm invites laced with schadenfreude. One night, post-Thanksgiving, tofu turkey and tears. He confessed over embers, "I missed the fight. Not the firm, the purpose." "You're enough," I said, but doubt echoed his. We argued, first real one since the ash. Me accusing wanderlust. Him fearing I'd tire of retired wolf. It escalated. Words weapons. "You dragged me here. I freed us." Doors slammed. I stormed to the dunes, wind whipping fury to clarity. He followed at dawn, coffee in hand, apology in eyes. "We're learning," he said, pulling me down to wet sand. Messy, but ours. Truce deepened resolve. December, we drove to Seattle proper, holiday lights twinkling on Pike Place, his arm around me in bustling markets. A jeweler sized rings properly, a lawyer drafted wills, partnership papers. Public steps, his first Instagram post, a beach selfie, my hand blurred but present, caption "New Horizons." Comments flooded, support, vitriol, but we curated joy, blocking noise. Climax brewed back east. January call from Mark, board suing Nate, breach of non-compete. Dragging your name in moral turpitude bullshit. Rage boiled. Nathaniel's face hardened to old steel. They want war? Gloves off. We flew to New York. United Front. His penthouse a war room. Lawyers circling like hawks. Depositions dragged. Victoria's testimony a venom spew. He used Adam to rebel. Unstable. I countered on stand. Voice steady. Love isn't liability. It's strength. Nathaniel's turn gutted. Recounting closets. The merger's toll. Choosing heart over hustle. Jury diverse. Weary. Saw truth. Settlement favored us. Firm paying damages. Gag order silencing snakes. Victory tasted bittersweet. Headlines shifted Hale's redemption. Love over legacy. But scars ached. Back in Seattle. Snow-dusted dunes. We healed. Therapy via Zoom. Doc approving the geographic reset. Sketches turning to logos for our venture, Hale Ruiz Ethical Capital. Seed funded by allies. But betrayal's echo lingered in micro. A client dinner where he charmed too easy. My jealousy flaring. My freelance gig pulling late. His insecurity mirroring. We navigated with grace. Date nights enforced. Check-ins over sunsets. Spring returned. Tulips nodding in city pots. Our first anniversary marked with paella perfected. Rings glinting. One evening, porch swing creaking, he turned serious. Kids? Ever think? Surprise, then warmth. Surrogacy? Adoption? With you. Yeah. Dreams expanded. A bigger cottage, maybe, or city return on our terms. But conflict crested anew, internal, a health scare. His annual checkup flagging elevated markers. Shadow of prostate fears from family history. Waiting room hell. My hand in his. Vows renewed in sterile quiet. Biopsy clear, benign. But it stripped us bare. Priorities crystal, health over hustle. Love eternal. Through it, humanity bloomed. Volunteering at a queer youth center. His stories mentoring scared kids. My art classes for at-risk teens. Sketches of resilient faces. We weren't saviors, just men. Flawed and full. Building from ruins. As summer hummed. Beach bonfire flickering. He pulled an envelope from the flame's glow. Read later. Our will, everything to each other. And a trust for those kids. Tears pricked. Nathaniel. Adam. Kiss soft. Sure. We're the high tide. unstoppable. But tides turn, and ours pulled toward deeper waters, climactic, unforeseen. Autumn painted the Pacific Northwest in fire, ferns aflame, maples bleeding red against gunmetal skies. Our venture took root. Hale Ruiz launched with a modest gala in Seattle's queer arts district, fairy lights strung like constellations, donors toasting ethical wins. Nathaniel in chinos and linen, me in a velvet blazer, hands clasped publicly, rings catching light. No scandals, just cheers. Media spun Wall Street Rebels' queer love story with nuance. Interviews where we spoke raw, closets cracked. Love's labor. Life settled into poetry. Mornings with coffee and crosswords on the porch. His competitive smirks dissolving into kisses. Afternoons knee-deep in proposals. Our synergy a quiet revolution. Funding BIPOC creators. Green tech for underserved. Evenings. Walks where waves whispered approvals. His arm my anchor. We'd argue still over cabinet space, his bourbon hoard versus my sketch pads or politics, his centrist pragmatism clashing my firebrand left. But makeup sex turned spats to sacraments, laughter the glue. Yet the past prowled. Victoria resurfaced in spring, email innocuous. Congrats on the firmlet. Coffee? Closure. Nathaniel deleted it, but unease fermented. I pushed therapy deeper, unpacking my abandonment ghosts. He confronted his fixer syndrome, the drive to control that nearly cost us. Progress. Family bridges mended. My abuela visiting, her sharp eyes softening at his tamale attempts, blessing us with a rosary strand for the cottage mantle. Climax brewed in summer swelter, a callback to origins. An invite. Sterling and Hale's 20th anniversary bash. Black tie requiem at the plaza, the site of our first stolen kiss. Go, I urged, seeing the pull in his eyes. Close the circle. He went solo, tux sharp, returning at dawn with champagne flutes and a grin shadowed by storm. Danced with ghosts, he said, collapsing beside me. Vic cornered me, apology tour, or trap. Offered partnership buy-in. And told her to fuck off. With elegance, laughter, then sobering. But it stirred shit old doubts. Am I enough without the empire? I framed his face. Fierce. You're my world. But doubt metastasized. Next week, a client pulled funding, whispers of Hale's instability from ex-colleagues. Then, a car accident. Minor, fender bender on I-5, but his Jeep totaled, him shaken with phantom pains echoing the scare. Hospital wait, my vigil, unearthed buried fears, mortality's scythe, love's fragility. What if I lose you? He whispered, bandaged hand in mine. You won't. We're armored, fall deepened, leaves carpeting paths like confetti from a wedding unheld. We planned it then, a small ceremony on our beach, abuela officiating in her Sunday best, friends from both coasts toasting with craft IPAs. Vows exchanged under a driftwood arch. Waves our choir, mine. You unearthed me. Nate, roots and all, his. You taught me home's not a place, but a heartbeat. Rings renewed. Kisses salt-kissed. The kiss that started it all, tender, transformative. Post-honeymoon, road trip to Portland's food trucks and forests. Reality reasserted. Venture hit turbulence. A backed startup imploded in scandal. Embezzlement, not ours, but optics stung. Donors wavered. Nathaniel's jaw set to old steel. Fight or fold? Fight. But strain showed. Late nights pouring ledgers. My sketches abandoned for stress doodles. An argument erupted, me accusing retreat to wolf mode, him snapping at my idealism. Words escalated. You wanted this. I wanted us. I fled to the city, crashing at a friend's loft. Phone silent. 2 days of radio quiet. Then his text, beach. Now, I broke. The cottage loomed dark, but light flickered from the dunes. Their bonfire roaring. He waited knee in sand, envelope in hand. Not letters, but papers, venture dissolution. I quit again, he said, voice raw. Not the firm, the fight. It's killing us. Tears tracked my cheeks. Nate, hear me, he stood, pulling me close. We're enough. Sell the beach house. Move to Queens near your abuela. Start small. Teach. Consult freelance. No empires. Just life. Betrayal's ghost. His old choices faded in the flamelight. This was surrender, not defeat. Humanity over hustle. Yes, I breathed, kissing him fierce. Home, we sold. Proceeds seeding a community fund, scholarships for queer youth, art grants for immigrants. Relocation to Queens felt like circles closing. Abuela's block brownstone, now with a garden apartment for us. Tamale scents wafting evenings. Nathaniel adapted, awkward at bodega runs. Charming abuela with broken Spanish, but thrived. Adjunct prof at my old college, lecturing ethics in finance. Me, gallery curator downtown, sketches exhibited in local shows. Winter blanketed the borough in quiet magic. Snow on stoops, subway serenades. Holidays swelled. Abuela's table groaning, his Berkshire's kin thawing with tentative calls. One night, post-feast, curled on our thrift store couch with Coco, he turned pensive. Regrets? None. I traced his tattoo, now inked with our wedding date. You, his smile, that crinkle-eyed one, lit the room. Chose right. Finally, spring brought bloom. A pregnancy announcement, surrogate journey yielding twins, due fall. Ultrasounds became rituals. His hand on my belly, impatient vessel. Awe in his eyes. Dads, he'd whisper, voice wonderstruck. But humanism's heart beats in shadows too. A call from Seattle. Cottage buyer backed out, loss stinging. We grieved it, our first hearth, but pivoted. A park bench dedication, plaque reading unburied here. Community rallied, donations pouring for the fund. Climax resolved not in thunder, but quiet thunder, a neighborhood block party, summer heat wave breaking in rain. We danced under strung bulbs, abuela twirling with him, kids from the center shrieking joy. Later, porch swing, salvaged from the beach. Rain pattering. He pulled a final envelope. Adoption papers for a teen mentee. Our family expanding. You planned this. With you. Kiss soft. Our story dramatic, messy, but ours. Years folded. Twins arriving squalling. Dark curls like mine. Gray eyes like his. The boy, ill I named, growing into sketches and stories. Firm faded to footnote, we, to legend in small circles. Proof love endures, not in spotlights, but hearths. One dawn, beach coordinates tattooed anew on my ribs, Queen's latitude. He woke me with coffee, grin boyish. Walk, we did, hand in hand down Flushing streets, city awakening. No empires left, but a legacy, resilient, romantic, real. Changed everything? Hell yes, from bottle shards to unbreakable bonds. In the end, We weren't heroes or tragedies, just men, loving loud in a world that tried to hush us. And that's the American dream, queered and true.